Going live.
Thank you. Welcome to New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld, and this is a special program with some very good friends of mine and highlighting the work of Dr. Joel Wallach. I'm so happy that the doctor's here, and I have two very good friends of mine joining me. Paul Andrews, he's a producer of Contact in the Desert. He's been involved and associated with Doc Wallach for many years. And my good friend Barbara Slane, a healthcare practitioner and a real researcher of alternative means. So Doc Wallach today is going to be talking about the, I think the pre-existing conditions for this virus and how to build immunity. So welcome everyone, welcome Doc. Do you want to give us a little, what would you say, background about this idea about the virus and pre-existing conditions?
Okay. Well, thank you, Alan, and also Barbara and Paul for being here. Well, basically, the biggest challenge we have are the pre-existing conditions. When you look at the people who die from the COVID-19, 98 to 99% of them have these pre-existing conditions. When a kid who's 3 years old, 10 years old, 15 years old, 20 years old gets the COVID-19, they get symptoms of a minor common cold. Their fever goes up 0.5%. But when they're 60 years old, 65 years old and older, they get 103 fever. They get some real serious issues, and the average age of death is 80. So why is it kills an 80-year-old and it's like common cold symptoms in a kid? That's because their problems start with the COVID-19 before you're conceived, all through the pregnancy from the moment you're born until you die. And the problem is what's called fibrous dysplasia of the bone marrow. Fibrous dysplasia of the bone marrow is a chronic form of osteoporosis. And of course, most lists of the top 20 pre-existing conditions for COVID start with high blood pressure. That is 100% incorrect. It should start with fibrous dysplasia, because the bone marrow cavity, whether it's in your skull or your thigh bone, your arm bone, your vertebrae, your bone marrow is your immune system. Your bone marrow produces white blood cells, which are called, like the Marines and the cavalry, to go attack and kill and eat the viruses. Your bone marrow has stem cells in there which make antibodies, which go and kill the viruses. Your bone marrow has stem cells that make red blood cells. Anemia is one of the big problems of terminal COVID. Capillary bleeding is one of the big issues of terminal COVID events. Okay, and that's because your bone marrow also makes platelets for blood clotting. And so everything you need to defend yourself is in your bone marrow. Your bone marrow is your immune system.
So are you saying, Doc, that because we don't have good a constitution in the bone marrow, even in utero, that most people don't develop a strong immune system?
That is correct. What happens here is babies are born with osteoporosis. Most doctors think that osteoporosis is a disease of older people. That is not true. Osteoporosis is a disease of any vertebrate of any age. Okay, it has to do with nutrients. And it's one of those things where it used to be called in Paget's disease, where your skull gets 2 inches thick instead of being a 1/4 inch thick, okay, and squeezes the 12 pairs of cranial nerves and squeezes blood vessels and all kinds of stuff, closes the medullary cavities is where the bone marrow is. And things go bad, but it's not only in the skull. It was called Paget's disease in the skull, and then they found it in the pelvis and the bones and everything. But the guy by the name of Paget, who discovered this in the middle 1800s, didn't know the cause, and so they were just knowing about genetics and that kind of stuff and things that ran in families. So they said it was a genetic disease. So I have a book coming out, which is at the printer right now. It'll be out next week. It's called It's All in Your Head, and talks about osteoporosis of the skull and the 12 cranial nerves and all the 25 diseases you get from just osteoporosis of the skull. So I changed the name from Paget's disease to Paget/Wallach fibrous dysplasia. Okay, that's more correct. It's a nutritional deficiency disease, and it goes on for 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years. And what happens is you slowly lose the bone marrow with connective tissue, or connective tissue replaces the bone marrow, so you can't make anything with scar tissue. And this goes back to the earliest observation 8,000 years ago, Alan. There was a Greek physician 8,000 years ago who said, and people were dying by the thousands every day from celiac disease because everybody's eating wheat back then. They just got introduced to wheat, so everybody's eating wheat. They're all dying of celiac disease. And this Greek physician said, you know, everybody who's dying of celiac disease eats wheat. And he published that 8,000 years ago. Now, 2,250 years ago, 250 BC, a Roman physician said, you know, the most common complication of celiac disease is osteoporosis. Now, that was important because the Roman Empire was destroyed, okay, by celiac disease and malaria, both of which are kind of indirectly related.
Does wheat rob the body of minerals then? Is that what?
Well, what it does is it causes all the villi in your small intestines to go away. So instead of your small intestines looking like a shag rug when you cut it open and look at it, it looks like the inside of a garden hose. It's all smooth. You've lost 95 to 98% of the absorptive surface. You are not what you eat. You are what you absorb. And if your absorptive surface is gone, as they say in French, you ain't got nothing. Right. Okay. And when you look at all these issues, they're all nutritional deficiency diseases. All of these 20 pre-existing conditions are nutritional deficiencies. Now, doctors say they're genetic because they run in families. Well, if everybody's eating gluten in the family, then it runs in families. Right. Well, my whole family's been eating oatmeal forever. My whole family has been drinking beer forever. My whole family's been drinking scotch forever. Okay. And so it's one of those things where wheat has been a big part of it. Now I'll jump back to pre-COVID. A pre-COVID pandemic 100 years ago was called the Spanish flu.
Right, right.
Okay. Now the Spanish flu afflicted primarily India. India had 95% of the cases of H1N1. 105 million people got the disease in India. 20 million died in a 3-month period. The bodies were being thrown in the rivers. The rivers were being dammed up with all the dead bodies. All of these people were dying of hemorrhaging. They were hemorrhaging to death from their nose, their mouth. They're throwing up blood. They're pooping blood. They're peeing blood. They're bleeding out of their ears. They're bleeding from everywhere. And I went back and I redid a lot of the published autopsies because I'm a pathologist. It's one of my 3 doctorates. I'm a pathologist. My thesis is in the Smithsonian Institute because of this stuff as a national treasure. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that just to give credibility to what I'm saying here. Right. And so when I went back and redid these autopsies from 100 years ago, what I found was that all of these people in India, 110 million got the disease, 20 million died in 3 months. The bodies, they were just throwing them in the rivers. Okay, and they jammed up all the rivers, dammed up the rivers. The whole India was flooding because of all the bodies damming up the rivers. Okay, and they were all bleeding to death. Well, that's because they all had Wallach's fibrous dysplasia, the bone marrow cavity. They all died. They didn't have platelets. They didn't have red blood cells that are bleeding to death. They didn't have platelets because their bone marrow cells that make platelets were dead because they've been eating wheat for 6,000 years. No, you know, it's all gluten, killed their intestines. And when this came by, it was the perfect match of the H1N1 virus and no immune system.
Yeah, Barbara has a question about that because she.
So, hi, and I love all of this. So how does the origin of the immune system, as you stated, in the bone marrow relate to the gut immunity that everyone is talking about? How does that, what's the correlation? And obviously that comes after.
Okay, well, the gut immunity has to do with the white blood cells and antibodies, all of which get there by the bloodstream. Okay, it's not the gut per se, but the gut is a huge surface. It's a surface with the outside world. It's where you absorb your food. Okay, and so there's a big blood supply to your intestines, and the blood supply doesn't only bring oxygen. Okay, it brings white blood cells, red blood cells, platelets, and antibodies. Okay, it's because it's a big surface, just like your skin does the same thing. It's a big surface. Your skin doesn't produce antibodies. It comes from your bone marrow. It gets to your skin through your bloodstream. Same way with your intestines. It gets to your intestines. There's so much misinformation. Let's go back thousands of years ago. For a fact, physicians and healers of all kind knew for 2,000 years. They knew for a fact on their mother's eyes and their baby's heart, for a fact, that the pandemics and all the epidemics and plagues were caused by evil spirits. Okay. And so they invented bleeding and leeches to suck all the evil spirits out for 2,000 years. Well, today doctors know little or nothing, and most healers know little or nothing about disease. And so they blame everything on genetics and autoimmune because they really don't know. Well, I've personally done 32,000 autopsies. My thesis is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure because I'm the guy, along with Bruce Lipton, we're considered the two fathers of the science of epigenetics. Okay. I have a book that represents 8,000 human autopsies. The bestseller out there is called Epigenetics. Okay. And deals with all this. Now, here we come. Now, let's jump forward here. So now we got all these pre-existing conditions because people can't absorb these 90 essential nutrients, which are required to prevent these pre-existing conditions. Okay. Because you can't absorb these 90 essential nutrients we need for our stem cells to work and make things. We're talking about 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids. You cannot eat well and get everything you need from your food. That is so stupid to say that. It would be like saying, oh, don't put any oil in your car. Don't waste your money on oil in your car. Just put dirt from Texas and Oklahoma and there'll be a lot cheaper. There's bound to be some oil in there. Well, an insane person would not do that to their car. But when a doctor from Harvard says, oh, just eat well, you get everything you need. Well, my doctor says I can get everything I need just by eating well, so I'm not going to take any vitamins and minerals. Bam, they're dead. Because you cannot get everything you need by eating well, because plants only need 3 elements from the soil to make good seeds for the next generation. Vertebrates, including humans, need 60. So you're 57 sharp before you start. Now, grandma used to eat wood ashes. They used to put wood ashes in the garden. So Thomas Edison is the biggest killer of the environment.
Yeah.
Because he came up with electricity. Okay. And the what do you call it? The let's see here. Fossil fuels are not the cause of the death of the ocean and reefs. No. That's another wrong theory. So what's killing the ocean and the reefs? I've done autopsies on all the reefs. Okay, they're dying of nutritional deficiencies, not from too much carbon dioxide. Reefs love carbon dioxide because they have algae, which takes the carbon dioxide out of the air, makes oxygen, and also makes carbon chains to make reefs. But we have 1 million hydroelectric dams damming up all the big rivers of the earth. You know what's coming here. We have 2 million dams damming up more rivers and tributaries for water conservation and irrigation. We have over 3 million dams damming up every waterway into the ocean and to the reefs. And guess what? They're starving to death because all the dams, I call them the dams, they block the silt going into the ocean, which was the food for the algae that fed the reefs and fed the ocean and ate the carbon dioxide. And the carbon dioxide is going up because the algae requires 20 nutrients, including 17 minerals, to eat the carbon dioxide, and they're not getting their 17 minerals because we've dammed up the rivers with the damn dams. And so I've invented an auger to go in the dams. We don't have to get rid of the dams. We'll put the augers in the dams. They're going to take the silt through and around and over the dams, so we feed the reefs in the ocean again, and it all stop. I was the featured speaker at Tesla last year because of this. I'm the guy that figured it out.
So, Doc, you're
Yeah.
saying it all comes down to minerals that are organically integrated into the body, into biological creatures, right?
That's correct. Now, type 2 diabetes is not a genetic disease. It's actually a disease, it's a deficiency of either one or two nutrients. You could have type 2 diabetes from a deficiency of either one or both of them. I take people who are brittle diabetics, Alan, for 30 years. They have their legs amputated. They're going blind. I put them on my program. In 30 days, their doctor throws up his hand and says, I don't know why, but you're not a diabetic anymore.
Doctor, wait, so can you go back to the type 2 diabetes? What are the common elements that are missing?
I'm not going to tell you. You got to read the book. And the reason I'm not going to tell you is people will then they'll run to Walgreens and they'll try and buy those nutrients, which they can get, but they don't give up gluten and they can't absorb them. They say, well, I tried it. I took those 2 nutrients for 6 months and didn't help my diabetes. Well, did you give up your oatmeal for breakfast? No, man, my whole family's been eating that way for 10 generations. Well, that's why, because you couldn't absorb the nutrients.
Right. So,
okay, so you got to do the whole program for it to work.
Barbara, go ahead.
That's a good question.
I was teasing. I said, can we guess? Go ahead. Well, because a lot of people, they're linking, and I'm sure that the zinc deficiency to COVID, that people are more apt to get it. And I don't know if that's accurate.
What deficiency?
Zinc.
Zinc.
Oh, well, zinc is required by stem cells and also required by T lymphocytes to function maximally to eat viruses. But zinc is one of the 60. You still need all the other ones to make the white blood cells. Zinc doesn't have anything to do with making the white blood cells. It's just kind of a cofactor for the white blood cells to be more effective in eating the viruses.
So
if you just take zinc and you're not making any white blood cells, it's going to be an abysmal failure.
What's essential for white blood cells then? What is it that, because they're the source of immunity, right?
Yeah, our white blood cells are made in the bone marrow.
Mm-hmm.
The bone marrow requires 90 essential nutrients to pull that off.
Mm-hmm.
And if your small intestines are like a garden hose on the inside instead of a shag rug, you ain't getting those nutrients so that the bone marrow can make white blood cells. That's where the problem is.
So, Doc, I'm sorry, Lynn, Barbara. So, Doc, can you talk a little bit about the role of vitamin D in this process?
Well, vitamin D is in David?
Yes.
Okay, well, what do you need to be able to efficiently absorb calcium?
Vitamin D, right?
Duh!
So if you're not in the sun, you're not going to have well-formed bones. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. Well, you can't be in the sun. You're going to get skin cancer. You got to put sunblocker on and wear long sleeves and a big brim hat and stay in the shade.
That's
Doctors
work.
kill more people. In fact, Johns Hopkins came out in 2016 and said the number 3 killer of Americans, the word kill, is medical doctors in hospitals. From simple mistakes, they kill 251,000 of their customers, of their patients each year in hospitals from simple mistakes. Every 4 years, medical doctors kill 1 million of their customers in their workplace. They don't even get a parking ticket.
Right. And sunblock or sun, that's the worst, because you're not only not absorbing the sun, you're absorbing artificial synthetic things into your body. I mean,
well, there's no nutritional value in sunblocker.
Right. Right.
Okay, the sunblocker just stops the sun from giving you skin cancer, which is BS anyway. Okay, and what you have to do is understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to understand that you need all 90 essential nutrients. Okay, there's no escaping it. This is what all vertebrates need. That's why my thesis from 20,000 autopsies was an NIH study for $25 million. Okay, it's in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure.
Okay.
And I'm assuming you can still hear me. I'm getting a call here, so I
That's
think you
okay.
can still hear my voice. Okay.
No, I can
So-
still hear your
We can
voice.
still hear you, Doc. You're
Yeah,
good.
well, as soon as
You're
the call drops off, my
I'm gonna
picture will be
just,
back. Okay, there we
show
go. Yeah.
people a little bit of your company.
Yeah.
Keep talking because I want, go ahead, because I want to just point
Okay.
people to.
And so, at any rate, you have to appreciate this. This is a unimpeachable truth. This is an unimpeachable truth. You cannot make any of these essential nutrients. You must get them from the outside one way or another. Okay. And I learned this when I was 9 years old, that animals didn't have health insurance. So farmers gave them, I was a farm growing up, we gave animals the 90 essential nutrients so they wouldn't get all these diseases that farmers would go broke paying a veterinarian to fix. And so I figured, why don't people get the same nutrition? Well, we have health insurance if we get sick. Well, that's stupid.
Right.
Okay, just don't get sick. But you got to take the 90 essential nutrients. You got to stay away from all the bad stuff so you can absorb the nutrients. You have to be able to absorb the nutrients. And this is where I came up with what we call the Healthy Start Pack, which is the core of all of our programs for 900 different diseases, which are found in 2 or 3 of my books. Okay, 900 different diseases, Alan.
Mhm.
Okay, you take the 90 essential nutrients, you prevent them all. Most of them are reversible with supplementation.
Right.
Don, I have a question. If the villi and the intestines are destroyed, can these nutrients revive them, or what has to be done to bring
Not
that?
if you can't absorb them. If you cannot absorb them, and I don't see my picture on here anymore. All I see is
No.
Vital Health News.
No,
There
I
we
was
go.
just telling people a little more information about you, but yeah, how do we change the absorption rate of the villi?
Get rid of gluten.
But can
No
that
wheat, no
be-
barley, no rye, no oats. No wheat, no barley, rye, no oats. No wheat, no barley, no rye, no oats. Now, I want you to think about this. And I never finished my story about the Spanish flu.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Doc. I
Why
want to hear
was
that.
why was it that 20 million people from India died of the Spanish flu, and we only had 675,000 die of the Spanish flu?
Mhm.
Okay, well, that's because they were eating wheat, and we weren't eating so much wheat. Now, here we go now. In India, California has more deaths than India does from the COVID-19. California alone has more deaths from COVID-19 than does India, because India switched over to rice after the First World War because of their tropical nature. They could grow more tonnage of rice per acre than they could with wheat that they've been doing for 12,000 years. And so that's why India has the lowest death rate now from COVID-19, where they had the highest rate from the Spanish flu.
So you say wheat is the worst agent to create a pre-existing condition.
That's
Yeah.
correct. Wheat, barley, rye, and oats, those 4.
Okay.
Okay. Malted milk, malted rye. Okay. And they give little kids in hospitals, they'll give them cookies, they'll give them cookies for dessert, which are made out of wheat, Oreo cookies. They give them Cheerios for breakfast, and they wonder why they can't get better giving them oral medication, because their intestines are all screwed up and they can't absorb even the oral medication. So they have to give them IV injections, which go around the intestine.
Now, how long would it take if you stopped eating wheat for your villi to come back and regenerate?
Okay, to begin, generation starts in about 2 to 6 weeks.
Wow.
But everybody in the family's got to be drop dead gluten-free, because if you're the only one in the household giving up gluten, let's say you're the wife and you're gluten-free, but you're cooking, Cheerios for everybody, or wheat for everybody else. You're making bread, you're making spaghetti. Okay. You're getting cross-contamination in the washer and dryer, the food preparation surfaces, the bed, the couches, the dog food, and all that kind of stuff. I want you to think about it. Up until just a few months ago, what country had the highest death rate? Italy, the pasta country.
Right.
Wow.
And now India has the least number of deaths of any country.
Mhm.
Where 100 years ago, they had the most deaths because they're eating wheat. Now they're eating rice. Now they have the lowest number of deaths. Whereas Italy, up until we came along, had the highest number of deaths.
Wow.
Africa, they live on rice, potatoes, corn, and they only have like 114 people with COVID, okay, in all of Africa. When you look at when you look at Germany, the next door neighbor of Italy, they eat potatoes and corn and rice, and they have the lowest death rate from COVID of any country in Europe, 0.5%. Italy has the highest rate at 10%. Well, why does Italy have the highest rate? Gluten alert, pasta country. And everybody knows of Germany, famous for their German potato salad.
Right. Okay. So
why is New York so bad? I mean, there are in Manhattan, it's a
because of the mafia. They all eat spaghetti.
no, there's a lot of bread. There's a lot of bakeries here.
Alan, there's a big gluten-free movement in New York also.
Well,
oh, it's so small. It's like less than
small,
0.5%. That's a crapola statement.
We know. Hey, Paul, did you want to ask a question or Linda jump in? But we want to also talk about, we're not finished with the point, but you.
Yeah, New York is not gluten-free.
Well, I wanted Doc to continue.
Every restaurant's an Italian restaurant in New York.
Or what, Paul? What we saying?
I wanted Doc to continue with his talk about the bloodletting and the relationship between that and Edward Jenner and smallpox.
Oh yeah, good one.
Okay. Well, if you want to jump to Edward Jenner, of course, you know, smallpox had been going through for thousands of years, killing everybody. And everybody knew it was caused by evil spirits.
Right.
Edward Jenner was just a little country doctor. I don't even think he went to school. He was just kind of a self-taught country physician. And he was noticing that the milkmaids never died of smallpox. And so he started examining them, and he noticed on their hands they had little blisters full of pus. And he started breaking those little blisters open and scratching other people and rubbing the pus from the little blisters into the scratches. And the next year, when the smallpox come through, all the ones he, quote, vaccinated, unquote, didn't die. They were the only ones that didn't die. Up until then, the only ones who didn't die were the milkmaids. He made that observation. All the universities, all the great scientists of the world knew that it was due to evil spirits. Okay, so Edward Jenner, he knew it was something that these girls were catching from the cows because they had the blisters on their udders, and they were the ones who were milking them, and they got those same little blisters on their hands. Well, maybe those blisters are protecting them. So he put the pus from the blisters onto other people, and he protected them with the first vaccinations.
Okay, so what does that have to do with this whole idea that we're talking about now?
Because the doctors are saying it's the virus. We're all going to die unless we get a vaccination. We're all going to die unless we find a drug to kill the bug. Well, we have drugs that are virucidal. That's not the problem. The problem is if you don't have any immunity to protect you from the virus, okay, then all the vaccinations are useless.
Right.
Okay, you still need to protect your small intestines so you can absorb the nutrients, so you can give the nutrients to your bone marrow to make white blood cells, red blood cells, platelets, and antibodies. Your bone marrow is your immune system. Okay, so all the doctors out there listening who don't know that, it's your bone marrow you want people to take care of, and you got to get rid of gluten. Okay, what we need to do is give gluten to all the terrorists. Just feed the terrorists, just give them all the spaghetti, give them all the oatmeal for breakfast. Okay.
But Joel, apart from the gluten, and I would imagine, I hope you have a product that could help us. Is that it? Is that the remedy? No gluten and the minerals?
It's no gluten, and it's the 90 essential nutrients, because it takes all 90 essential nutrients to make, build, maintain, repair, and replace dead cells from every tissue, every organ of the body. For instance, I've done 1,700 autopsies on kids under the age of 10 that died of a sudden heart attack called Keyshan disease in China. They're all under 10 years of age, published in 3 languages. It's in English, it's in the Journal of Trace Element Research. You can look it up and see if I'm lying. Okay. And basically, it's that same nutrient missing in baby formulas up until about 10 years ago. Okay. during the Second World War, when women, they'd have their babies, they go to work in the factories, grandpa had to take care of the babies. So some clever guy, very smart, came up with the idea, we'll come up with baby formulas to let grandpa feed the babies so women didn't have to stay home and breastfeed their babies and go make bullets and torpedoes and things in the factories.
Right.
Well, they only put 3 minerals in there. They only put calcium and phosphorus and zinc in there. The other 57 minerals I laid out. And all the diseases said to be genetic in kids were really just simple mineral deficiencies because they're all being fed this food with only 3 minerals in there instead of 60.
So,
Okay.
Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, well, let me finish.
Go ahead, Doc. I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, let me finish. And so what happened here was I found the first non-human case when I was working for NASA at the Yerkes Primate Center in Atlanta, Georgia. I found the first non-human case of cystic fibrosis and showed that it was actually a simple nutritional deficiency. After the experts had diagnosed it, I said, I think this is cystic fibrosis. What do you think? They said, yeah, this is a classic example. Then I told them it was from a monkey in the NASA colony. And they said, oh, that's beautiful. Now we have a colony. I said, well, it's even better than that. It's just a simple nutritional deficiency. And they fired me. They said, Wallach, this is a classic example of a nutritional, of a transmission of a genetic disease. You can't say it's nutritional. Well, it was. Well, I also found I could cure muscular dystrophy, a simple nutritional deficiency is not genetic. And I gave 100 charts to Jerry Lewis where we had cured 100 kids with muscular dystrophy. He got so excited, he took it to the Muscular Dystrophy Association. They fired him and stopped the telethon when he brought him the cure for muscular dystrophy. And then we sued and got a win in our 10th federal court lawsuit. A federal judge gave us a win April 16th, 2013 to put this one nutrient in baby formula. It was still not in baby formulas. And 3 months later, in the Charlotte Observer, the biggest newspaper in Charlotte, North Carolina, they came out and said, we don't know why, but sudden death syndrome has vanished in the state of North Carolina. 3 months later, in the state of Missouri, all the newspapers came out and said, we don't know why, but sudden death syndrome has vanished in the state of Missouri. 3 months later, every newspaper in America came out and said, we don't know why, but the rate of sudden death syndrome has dropped by 85 to 95% in all states. That's because I forced them to put that nutrient in the baby formulas. It was deficient. Only 2% of the babies that were diagnosed with sudden death syndrome were in bed with their mothers when they died. Their mothers didn't lay on them. Doctors just said that so they didn't have to be held responsible for not knowing the cause. Are you getting the picture here?
Yeah.
Paul?
I am.
Alan?
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's great. The people are saying this is very clear online. I agree with everything. I gave up bread, gluten, wheat, pasta, and I went from being very sick to healthy, to healthier than I've ever been, really. That's what.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I'm the guy that got rid of cystic fibrosis. I'm the guy that got rid of muscular dystrophy. I'm the guy that got rid of sudden death syndrome.
Yeah.
Okay, I am the guy that knows what causes atrial fibrillation. Medical doctors, a cardiologist killed Isaiah Cummings, a U.S. congressman from Baltimore, Maryland, by cutting him open using a hot soldering iron to try and do an ablation, killed parts of his heart muscle because his heart was jumping around. It was just osteoporosis of the skull, squeezing the 10th cranial nerve. All they had to do is put him on our healthy bone and joint pack and would have all gone away. But they killed a congressman to do something really stupid.
Wow. So what do you also have to say? Paul mentioned earlier autopsies. You notice a lot of different things when you've done thousands. How many autopsies have you done, you said? And you
Over 32,000, and I've probably reviewed that many others that other people have done, but I've done 32,000 myself. My thesis on 20,000 autopsies was for my second doctorate, okay? It is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure because I found that all these diseases said to be genetic weren't. All the genetically transmitted birth defects are not. There are no genetically transmitted birth defects. There are no genetically transmitted diseases. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right. So what did you see in the autopsy?
And that's why I'm considered one of the two fathers of the science of epigenetics that has replaced genetics.
Right. But in the autopsies, what specifically did you see in these human bodies that you cut open?
Nutritional deficiencies, Alan.
How do you see that in the body? Where do you see that in the tissue and physiology?
Well, every tissue. Well, what you do is you take a piece of the tissue, you take the blood and you do an analysis. There's supposed to be a certain amount of those nutrients floating around in your blood to do its job, so the stem cells can do their job, so that your stomach can make stomach acid. In the Old Testament, there's a statement in there that God said, go forth and be as a salt substitute to the earth.
Yeah.
No, God said, go forth and be a salt to the earth. It was the biggest, the most, made billionaires thousands of years ago selling salt. Every vertebrate requires salt. There's chief cells in your stomach to make soda, to make hydrochloric acid from it. When people have something like acid reflux, that's a lie. It's not acid reflux. It really should be called lack of acid reflux, because the gas and belching and burping is caused by bacterial fermentation of food in your stomach, because there's no acid in there, because that person gave up salt. I can get rid of acid reflux in 3 seconds by salting their food, and it goes away, because it makes stomach acid and kills the bacteria, and they don't have acid reflux anymore.
You mean the sea salt, the obviously the salt that has
Sodium chloride. I don't care if it's white salt, sea salt. I have a salt. I sell salt. It's a pink Himalayan salt.
Right.
I love it. But any salt, even the salt you get from the grocery store in a little blue round carton.
really.
Okay.
Talk about
We'll give your chief cells what they need to make stomach acid, and you can get rid of, we can get rid of acid reflux in 30 seconds in America, in the entire country, if everybody goes back to using salt. Any doctor who tells people to give up salt should be put in jail for.
Can you talk about what is in the essential pack, the essential health pack that you put together, that people will find the essential nutrients they need and minerals?
Yeah, it's called the Healthy Start Pack. It actually has over 218 nutrients in there, 90 of which are universally recognized as being essential. Many of the others will be in future years described as essential, but right now everybody universally agrees on 90, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids. And these are required for structure. These are required for function.
Yes.
These are required as, to make things like stomach acid. This is to make mucus, to make hormones. Requires all these nutrients. You just can't make this stuff from the ozone. You require these 90 essential nutrients to do all this. And even if you're supplementing with the 90 essential nutrients, if you're eating gluten, you can't absorb them. You are not what you eat, you are what you absorb them. Doctors say, well, we have to give you a B12 shot every month because you're not absorbing B12. Right away, they have a gluten problem.
Right. I have to say,
I have to give you
you're 80
go ahead.
years old, and your bone density, I mean, just show them your wrists there. You have like very solid bone. Yeah.
Okay. I wrestled for in junior high, high school, and the University of Missouri. And, let me tell you, there's no 60, 50, 40-year-old that can keep up with me now. I can scoop out a barn. I can unload a truck. I can throw 90-pound bales of hay by myself, and I'm 80 years old. Because you're hearing me knocking on my table here with my knuckles, because there's nothing wrong with any of my joints.
Barbara, go ahead, jump in.
Can osteopenia or osteoporosis be reversed with your products?
Yeah, we have what we call the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack for that specific thing. We have different pre-packaged programs for over 900 different diseases. We have a series of books called the Trilogy of Books, Let's Play Doctor, Let's Play Herbal Doctor, Passport to Aromatherapy, and it teaches you how to deal with these 900 different diseases using the 90 essential nutrients. We also have the book called Rare Earth-Spin Cures, which tells you how to do a hair analysis, and that way you can tell if you're even absorbing. That's one of the biggest pieces of information. The biggest symptom of a gluten problem is malabsorption. So if you get a hair analysis and all the bars for all your nutrients are below the bottom line, you're not absorbing. That's really, you don't even need to have to read. You can just see the picture.
You could reverse. Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, Doc, so many doctors tell us that we can get all the vitamins and minerals we need by eating,
They should be put in jail for reckless endangerment when they say that.
But why is that not true, Doc?
Okay, well, here's why. The nutritional minerals we need occur not in a uniform blanket around the crust of the earth. They occur in veins like chocolate and chocolate ice cream. They occur in veins like gold and silver. They occur in veins like coal. Okay. Who are the longest lived people on Earth? The Hunza people up near the Giltar Glacier between Pakistan and China. They were the subject. They were the subject of James Hilton's research for the New York Times, which became a book called Lost Horizon, which became a movie in 1933, Lost Horizon. They live to be 160, 200 years of age now. Last year, there was a gal, she celebrated her 168th birthday, and she's still taking care of her grandkids.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, because they have more minerals there than somebody in Bing Bang, Salt Lake City, Utah. Okay, and the problem is, unless you supplement, and that's what I learned when I was 9 years old, we give all the 90 essential nutrients to all of our animals, okay, because we don't have any health insurance to pay veterinarians to come out to the farm and treat the animals. And so farmer goes bankrupt if all his animals die. So he's learned to give the animals, what's the first thing that a farmer puts out in the pasture for his herd of cows? A salt block with trace minerals. Why did they put trace minerals in the salt block? Because the cow will sit there all day and lick that salt block. They're also getting their trace minerals when they're licking the salt block.
So you say
you can't have salt. My doctor, as a cardiologist, says you can't have salt. It causes high blood pressure. That's an absolute 100% lie. Salt does not cause high blood pressure.
what does cause? Go ahead, Paul.
Doc, you mentioned Himalayan salt or
Yes.
pink salt.
Yeah, we
Can
have
you
a pink
talk about that
Himalayan
a little
salt.
bit?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah, it's in our savor division. We have a spice division. In fact, we have 5 different salad dressings that's made from berries, because the oil in salad dressings is what causes plaque in your arteries. Cholesterol is your best friend. Cholesterol deficiency causes Alzheimer's disease. Who created Alzheimer's disease? Doctors. Alzheimer's disease is a simple nutritional deficiency of cholesterol. ED, erectile dysfunction, is a simple deficiency of cholesterol. Testosterone is 95% by weight cholesterol. And so any doctor who writes a prescription for statin drugs because you have plaque in your arteries, because you have high blood pressure and you have coronary artery disease, should be put in jail.
Right.
Anybody who does a bypass surgery and puts in stents should be put in jail, because all the diseases of those arteries are caused by salad dressings, cooking oils, and frying, burning fats, fried fats.
So you're saying you take a frail 85, 90-year-old woman, you give them the minerals, they will reverse osteoporosis and blood
Oh
pressure.
yeah, in weeks.
In weeks.
Yeah, Alan, I've got people who are working with me, Margie, who her team is answering the calls here for the people who call in.
Right.
And her older sister, Shar, is 77 years old. You look at her, she looks like she's a 40-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She doesn't dye her hair. She's got jet black hair. She's 110 pounds. And she's down reconstructing her barn by herself today as we speak. And she's been with me for 29 years, taking this stuff for 29 years. She has an organization where she takes care of 500,000 people a month.
Wow.
And she's 77 years old. She hasn't had anything in the 30 years she's been totally healthy. She lives on a 25-acre plot, and she's out there raking leaves and chopping limbs and making firewood and all this kind of stuff. She weighs 110 pounds, and she will kick your butt.
Can I ask a question? Are any oils okay? Like everyone says olive oil, if it's not heated, is okay. Is that okay?
Okay, if you eat an olive, it's beautiful. But if you squeeze the olive and it's been 24 hours before you eat that olive oil, it will kill you.
Really?
It won't kill you instantly, but it will kill you over weeks or months. It will cause plaque to form in your arteries.
Are any oils good for you? Do you just recommend?
Well, yeah,
oil?
you need them. You need the omega-3s, the omega-6s, the omega-9s. You need them. But you need to eat the olive. Okay, pick it off the tree and eat it. You need to eat the seeds. You take the seeds, you just pull an orange. I mean, I live on 5 acres and we have pomegranate trees and we have orange trees and lemon trees. We throw the fruit away and just eat the seeds because of the oils in the seeds. Okay. When you go to a restaurant and they have salad dressing on the table that's been on the table for weeks and weeks and weeks, that's the killer.
Exactly.
That's the killer.
You know, the other
So
question.
there's no oil, there's no oils that, should we stay away from all oils, coconut, hemp seed oil? Is that all?
MCT, soy, the only ones that are good are mine because they're in soft gel capsules, okay? They're in there with nitrogen. They have nitrogen in there so that they don't oxidize. They don't go bad and turn into trans fats, heterocyclamines, acrylamides, which cause the plaque in your arteries and cause you to have Alzheimer's disease. Now, there's 8 different dementias. Okay, there's 8 different dementias, all of which doctors will call Alzheimer's disease because the health insurance companies pay the most for treating Alzheimer's disease. I treat for all 8, and I take people who have been in a coma for 8 years with Alzheimer's disease diagnosed by doctors, give them my stuff through their G tube, and in 3 days they get up, they go back to work. They thought they've only been asleep for one night. They've been in a coma for 8 years. And the most recent one was Ray McGregor from North Carolina. He was in a coma for 8 years in a nursing home with Alzheimer's disease. I gave him all my stuff for all 8 different dementias through his G tube 3 times a day. Okay. And by the 3rd day, he gets up, he gets dressed, he shaves, he goes back to work at the bank. He was a vice president of the bank. Nobody there knew him. They said, "Who are you?" He says, "Well, I'm the vice president. Who are you? What are you doing here?" He'd been gone for 8 years. The whole staff had changed. And he thought he was only gone for 1 day. This is what we do with nutrition and getting off of gluten.
So you say steaming the food, don't fry, don't use cooking oils, best to steam, maybe even boil.
Bake, roast, simmer.
Broil maybe too, right?
Yeah. Well, you got to watch it. Broiling, they'll burn the fat. I eat 9 eggs a day. 3 for breakfast, 3 for lunch, 3 for dinner. Steak and eggs for breakfast. Okay. I eat,
like Paul.
Yeah, I want the eggs because I want the cholesterol.
Right.
Why do I want the cholesterol? I want the cholesterol so I can keep my brain right, because 75% of your brain weight is cholesterol.
How
you
do
get
you
on a
cook the
statin drug
steak?
to lower your cholesterol. You give up eggs and you're eating egg beaters, which is margarine. You're dead.
How do you cook steak? How do you broil? What do you do with the steak? Just curious.
No, you lightly either grill it or you bake it or you roast it. No frying. If you're going to cook it on a grill outside, you know, like a barbecue,
you
need to put it on a solid sheet of metal, you know, like a baking sheet.
You don't
put that baking sheet so the flames don't burn the fat.
Right.
You know, get these cute little teenage girls. Oh, I just love that crunchy burnt fat.
Ugh.
She's going to get breast cancer. She's going to have all kinds of blocked arteries by the time she's 25 years old. Okay.
Right. Hey,
and
Paul,
she'll have babies born with all kinds of birth defects, none of which are genetic.
Right.
Because she will have a gluten problem.
Paul, you had a question. Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, Doc, what about, say, butter versus margarine? I mean, where are you sitting with either one of those?
Only communists should eat margarine. Okay, butter is good. Butter's been around. See, you have to appreciate what did all the saints do for a living? They were herdsmen. They had sheep and cattle and goats. Oh, the land of milk and honey, not the land of margarine
and sunblock.
Okay, got it.
But you know, a lot of people say that
Methuselah lived to be 969 eating butter, for God's sakes.
What's that, Paul? Paul said, Paul.
well, you know, but I mean, a lot of doctors say that too much butter is bad for you, too much cholesterol.
We have to appreciate the average lifespan of a medical doctor in America, Paul, is 57.
So that's what you
average lifespan of a medical doctor is 57, not because of stress, but because they live on margarine and salad dressings and cooking oils and sugar and gluten.
So is this why dead doctors don't lie, Doc?
That was the name
Only
of Doc's
dead doctors don't lie.
That's the name of your book, right, Doc? Dead Doctors.
That's my book. My CDs, we've sold 600 million copies of the CD. It's in 9 languages, Alan.
What was it? Dead Doctors Don't Lie, right? That's the CD.
Yeah, Dead Doctors Don't Lie. DVD sold 600 million copies now. It's in 9 languages.
Wow.
That's an astounding number, Doc. I mean, can they get it through this? This
yeah, they can get it through this number on the screen now.
Yeah.
And of course, when the audio cassette tape first came out, We sold over 100 million copies in 3 years. It went viral. That was the thing that they invented the term going viral for, was that audio cassette tape, Dead Doctors Don't Lie. No audio cassette tape. Michael Jackson, all of the great singers, none of them sold 100 million copies at that time.
Right.
Yeah. And so you're up to 600 million now, Doc?
Of the DVD, yeah, of the DVDs, 9
But-
languages.
Wow.
You wouldn't say cooking with butter is good, right? You would just say use it
Yes,
with
cooking butter with butter is good.
It is, but doesn't that create?
Yeah, that's how I scramble my eggs.
But
with butter.
doesn't that burn the fat in the butter?
No, because I make them soft. I don't burn the fat. They're
Okay.
runny, soft, runny,
So
scrambled, not hard scrambled. Only a communist eats hard scrambled eggs.
the other question someone has is the whole idea of 5G. Is that really something to worry about, 5G?
I'm too busy getting people off of gluten. We haven't even gotten people off of gluten yet. Don't worry, you won't live long enough to be worrying about 5G if you don't get off of gluten.
Right. Right. Wait,
Yeah, I'm
Paul,
going to turn to that. I'll turn to that in January coming up.
okay, but Paul, you had some other questions from your notes with Doc the other day. We're almost have another 6 minutes
Well,
here on this call.
I have two things. First of all, I watch the news every day, and there's a big concern right now, Doc, about children getting Kawasaki's disease.
Okay, there's a clue there. You know, just like there's a clue with COVID-19, the 3-year-olds, the 5-year-olds would get it, and they just got minimal common cold symptoms. The 65, 75, 80-year-olds would die from COVID-19, same infection. Well, here the clue is all the kids getting Kawasaki disease are under 5 years of age. If they live to be 5 years and 1 month, it all goes away. What happens at 5 years of age? They all go to school and they start eating differently. Duh.
I get it.
Okay, it's not an autoimmune disease, as doctors say. It's a simple gluten problem. Gluten alert, gluten alert, gluten alert. Okay.
And
They have an arteritis. All their arteries in their body get inflamed. They get aneurysms. There's a clue. There's one nutritional deficiency that causes aneurysms. Okay, so you got the clue there. And so it's one of those things where everything they're giving me, I redid about 500 printed autopsies on kids that died of Kawasaki disease. They all have aneurysms and arteritis, and they don't just get one deficiency. So many of them will have 5 or 6 nutritional deficiencies. So they're also anemic, and they have all this other stuff going on. And when they say, oh, it's associated with COVID. Well, COVID will kill them if they've got that, because it's a gluten problem. They got these 2 very, very serious deficiencies, which cause liver disease, artery disease, and aneurysms, and heart disease, and all that kind of stuff. But it's not the COVID that's the problem. It's the gluten which causes them to have the deficiencies.
Does that make sense to you, Barbara? Does that
It totally makes sense, 100%. And it's also the gluten, and then added on that, Doc, is the glyphosate, right? I mean, it's everything involved with the gluten.
Well, you start throwing all the inflammatory things in there. When you don't have nutrients to protect yourself, the inflammatory things make everything worse, just like the COVID virus. I mean, people who die of COVID virus in their 60s, 70s, and 80s were going to die in a couple of months anyway. The COVID virus just knocks them off a couple of weeks earlier.
wait, they're going to die?
They're seeing.
Because they have these pre-existing conditions where these nutritional deficiencies they've had for 20, 30, 40 years because they've been eating gluten for 40, 50, 60 years.
But what about all these odd cases, 30-year-old, 40-year-old, just very odd cases of.
Because they eat, well, why is it in Louisiana that 70% of the people who die are black men? Because they drink beer all day.
Oh.
Right.
Gluten alert, gluten alert, gluten alert.
So
The black women drink red wine.
But white women drink red wine. Why aren't they?
Well, there's no gluten in wine.
Oh.
right. It's
Duh!
good.
There's only gluten in
yeah.
beer. Beer is made from wheat.
Right. And
Oh,
barley.
Doc, am I right that there's resveratrol in red wine? Can you talk
That's
about that a
correct,
little
which is an
bit?
anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a great product, Cell Shield RTQ. 2 capsules of that give you the same amount of resveratrol as 264 glasses of red wine. I'd rather drink the red wine.
You would. So is that all there really is to say? Stop eating gluten, take more minerals, and you'll be healthy?
No, you got to take the 90. You just can't take minerals. See, don't let them off that easy. They got to take the 90. 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids, because you cannot get this stuff from your food. That's all BS. You cannot get it from your food. Any doctor who says don't take vitamins, minerals, just eat well, you get everything you need should be put in jail.
Right. So, so you need, if you took all that, would you reduce?
And get rid of gluten.
Would you reduce 90% of disease with that way, or 99%? I mean,
99%, you'd add 25 to 50 years to everybody's life, healthful years, minimum.
wow. So everything, including anemia, all these things.
Well, where's your red blood cells made?
In your bone marrow.
Duh. And so if you're B12 short, because you're not taking salt to make stomach acid, which is required to be able to absorb B12, okay, plus you have a problem in your intestines because you're eating gluten. So the doctor has you come in every month and gives you a B12 shot and bills your insurance company $200.
Right, ridiculous.
Well, your doctor should go to jail.
Maybe on the next couple of shows we can talk about what's wrong with the healthcare system and how.
Oh, don't get me started.
How you could improve it with some of the things you discovered, because it's helping. The idea is to help people. I mean,
well, if people take care of themselves, that's our whole idea of starting our company, Longevity, was so people could take care of themselves and not go to the doctor.
Right.
Okay, they'll live 25 to 50 years longer, and doctors will have to find a new way to make a living instead of milking their patients through the insurance companies.
Right, that is a problem. That's how they make money, is like, and giving them like the drugs that aggravate the conditions. Is that what you're saying?
And just treat the symptoms. Oh, I had bone pain for 20 years. My doctor gave me opioids, and in 3 minutes my pain was gone. I just love my doctor. Well, now you're an opioid addict. But if he'd have given you 20 years earlier the healthy bone and joint pack, it had gone away in 3 weeks.
Right. No, this is.
And you wouldn't have had to have the double knee replacement for $50,000 each.
So I have a question. A lot of people on the call are taking, certain vitamin regimes, 5,000 units of D or 50 milligrams of zinc, yada, yada. Are you saying, so yours is.
They're wasting their time if that's all they do.
So
you got to take all 90. It's kind of like grandma's famous angel food cake recipe. Well, the only thing I liked of her 37 ingredients in there was the honey. So I put honey in the cake pan and put it in the oven. I bake the honey and I eat the honey, but it still doesn't taste like grandma's angel food cake recipe. Well, that's because you didn't put it in the other 36 ingredients. Okay, you need to do the whole thing.
But in certain circumstances, is it okay for people to supplement with things that are for their specific condition? Or are you saying not necessary?
No. You take the 90, and then we have what we call secret sauces for over 900 different diseases.
Okay.
For instance, you take the Healthy Start Pack, which has all 90, but then we call the healthy blood sugar stuff, okay, called Sweeties. You add that to the Healthy Start Pack. We call it you take that and you get rid of your diabetes in weeks. I don't care if you've had it for 30 years. Type 2 diabetes goes away in weeks. Type 2 diabetes is a simple nutritional deficiency. It's not genetic, not autoimmune.
Wait, which pack is for the diabetes again?
It's called the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack. I mean, that's difficult.
Should they, but but the people that are on insulin or have a certain regime, is there
Okay, stop. Why do they take insulin? Because they took the pills and it didn't work. That's because they couldn't absorb it because they're eating gluten and their intestines are dead. They got to give up gluten. Then the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack works orally and they can give up their insulin.
So do they work with someone at your place to titrate?
No, they work with themselves and they take their blood sugar every day. And as their blood sugar drops little by little, they reduce their medication based on the numbers. You don't just cold turkey off your medication. You're intelligent. My blood sugar dropped 10 points for 3 days in a row. Okay, well, let's cut your medication by 10%.
No, I was asking, do you have people there that help to guide people with your protocols?
Well, absolutely. I have 2 million people who I have as trained associates. And people can become one, and I pay them an income stream. They get the tax breaks of owning their own business. Plus, Plus, they only pay wholesale for the product. And if they get on auto ship, I'll pay the shipping. I don't know how to make it any better than that.
Right. I mean, what I love about your work, Doc, is that you have the know-how, the experience, and you formalize what you think is best for people, which I think.
No, that's not true, Alan.
No? Okay. What
I
is,
formulate what I know is best for them, not what I think is best.
okay. You're based on your expert. So
Based on fact, based on fact, based on millions of autopsies, okay, based on millions of research projects and laboratory animals and farm animals. This is, I mean, animals get aneurysms from the same deficiency that is happening in Kawasaki kids. We've known this for over 100 years, what causes that. And yet doctors, oh, it's the COVID virus killing them because they have this autoimmune disease, Kawasaki disease. But if they live to be 5 years of age plus a month, it all goes away.
And
Spare me.
Why does it
Because they go
away?
to school after age 5 and they get to eat school food instead of mama's stupid diet.
Oh, that has less.
And less gluten because they get to eat fruit and ice cream and all that other stuff. Duh.
Well,
At home, they're eating Cheerios and bread.
Doc, I really appreciate you being here today. I'm going to have Doc back every week at this time. That's 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Pacific. I invite people on the Zoom call with us to ask questions or
It's going to be beautiful because now you've got the basis and we can move forward because this is the basis. What we've just discussed today is the basis of all. Remember, there are no genetically transmitted diseases. There are no genetically transmitted birth defects. I mean, I proved that so many times. Let me tell you a quick experiment here.
Yeah.
Because I got about 10 more minutes if you got that time.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was working with the Brookfield Zoo in Chicago, and they had a pair of Arctic foxes that were wild caught, and they had these wild foxes living together, of course, a boy and a girl, and they had 10 babies, all of which were born with cleft palates. And the keepers called me and said, look, we want to destroy the mother and father and destroy all these 10 babies because they're born with cleft palates, and we can't have these birth defect things, genetics and everything. We can't have bad genes in our displays. I said, well, no, this is a beautiful thing. Don't kill any of the babies. Don't kill the mom and dad. No. Just bring them to me. I said, what are you feeding them? Well, we're just giving them horse meat because they're meat eaters. We just gave them horse meat. Well, that's why he had 10 babies born with cleft palates. So what we're going to do, we're going to start feeding the mother and father dog food instead of just horse meat. Then we're going to take the babies, we're going to feed them a milk replacer that you feed orphan puppies. Now, once they're old enough, 6 weeks, you're going to start eating solid food. We're going to feed them dog food instead of horse meat. When they're 6 months of age and they're going through puberty, we're going to put a brother with a sister. We're going to put a daughter with the father. We're going to put a son with the mother, and we're going to get them all pregnant. I mean, we're talking about super inbreeding here. If there's a gene, if there's a bad cleft palate gene in there, it's going to show up. Well, we had 100 babies born between all those inbreeding pairs and couples and brothers and sisters and all that kind of stuff, mothers and yeah. And guess what? We had 100 normal babies born, not one cleft palate, because they were all eating dog food instead of horse meat. Published. It's in the book Epigenetics. That's why I'm considered one of the fathers, along with Bruce Lipton, as one of the two fathers of epigenetics, because there are no genetically transmitted birth defects. None. Zero. Zippo. Nada.
Well, that is so good. You know, there's so much that you cover that is so brilliant and based on your research. And Linda, you've been working with Doc for a while. Do you have anything you want to just add before we wrap up here?
Yes, I've been with Doc for 12 years. And I think one of the things that's so important, he talked about gluten, but there's also, we give everyone a good food, bad food list. You can even Google it, you know, because it's fried foods, processed meats, you know, oils, gluten, bologna, pepperoni, salami. There's a list of things that you just can't eat. And if you have some debilitating issues, and thank you for putting up your number, Alan, people can call that number. Someone will help them. That in less than 90 days, we're not saying you got to wait your entire life or 2 years or 3 years to see something. We've had people on 10 and 12 different medications, and in less than 90 days, your health will see itself turn around. I've had people, they needed double knee replacement surgery. I said, just give us 90 days. They canceled the surgery, and within 30 days, their pain is gone. They're riding bicycles, running, things that they never thought they could do. I have a woman right now, this is just last week. She was a diabetic for 15 years. She said she has never seen her blood sugar level with a 1 in front of it. So she took it, she was only on the product for 5 days. Her blood sugar came down from 336 to 143. Now it's down to 95. When your body has the right vitamins, minerals, and nutrition, it has the power to heal itself of anything. The problem is we don't get it from our food anymore. So the cofactors, you get them, and we have it all in one place. You can't just cherry pick and take vitamin C, vitamin D. It'll help temporarily, but when your body has what it needs, I'm 51 years old, going on 52, no health challenges. And I started with Doc 12 years ago. I was a school teacher, but I had a health challenge. Within 5 days after living with it for 2 years, the doctor said, you have vertigo, there's nothing we can do, it'll never go away. I was like, but I don't understand, something's missing. 2 years later, I meet Dr. Wallach. He was like, take these products. And in 5 days after sleeping, sitting up for 2 years, it went away. When your body has what it needs, it can heal itself. Is it going to be counterintuitive to what a doctor would say? Yes, but you should be glad about that, because look at your results. We've got the answer.
Linda, talk about your vertigo a little bit and exactly what it was you took that helped you.
Now, Paul, do you see why I love her?
I see it. I see it.
Yeah, so I had vertigo. And as I said, for 2 years, the doctors were like, you know what they said? Take medication. I refused to do it because I know, I mean, I'm God-fearing, I'm a spiritual person. So I'm like, God didn't make us this way. Something went wrong, but the doctors couldn't tell me. I'm like, just tell me what it is. I woke up like 10, 12 years ago, and the world is spinning. It's like I'm on a merry-go-round every day. And so, like I said, after 2 years, long story short, I meet Dr. Wallach, and I took the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack because it's a calcium deficiency with some extra,
Osteoporosis of the skull.
OsteoFX. I took some extra OsteoFX, and in 5 days, after living with it for 2 years, it went away. Now, because I was a skeptic, like probably many people listening, when it went away, guess what? I stopped taking it. And guess what happened in a few days? It all came back. So your body needs this. And now I've been on the product for over 12 years. It's changed my life. I'm in the best shape of my life, and I'm 51. I'm in better shape at 51 than I was at 15 or 20. So if your body gets what it needs, Dr. Wallach is 81 years old. 81, I think, is in China, but he's 80.
Yeah, going on 81, yeah.
But I'm saying, when you see him and all the stuff that he can do, and I look at some of these frail people that are 80, some of these people call me, they're 50 and frail. That right. When your body has what it needs, Dr. Wallach takes it twice a day, every day. And guess what? I do too. And if you take it twice a day, the person that you call, when they call your number, Alan, somebody's going to help them. They're going to tell them how to take their product. And if they listen in less than 90 days, all of their issues will go away.
Wait,
when your body has what it needs.
Which product are you talking about, Linda? Which product are you saying to take?
The Healthy Bone and Joint Pack was what we started with. Now I take all kinds of stuff now, probably too much stuff, but it was the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack for vertigo and extra OsteoFX. That's what he had me take.
And that got rid of your vertigo.
That's right. And because what he did was, there's a CM cream in there. You got to stir it up, and then you take a Q-tip and also put it in your ear canal to make sure that if there's any balance problems. I didn't have the balance problems, but if I laid down, it was like I was on a merry-go-round 24/7 for almost 2 years.
Is that because of the osteoporosis of the skull, Doc? That
right.
Yes.
It was like
Yeah, it squeezes. In her case, it was squeezing the vestibular branch of the 8th cranial nerve, which caused this vertigo. Okay. If you have ringing in your ears, tinnitus, the osteoporosis will squeeze the auditory branch of the 8th cranial nerve. When you have atrial fibrillation, and remember they killed Elijah Cummings, that congressman from Baltimore, Maryland, trying to do ablation on his heart and open his chest up, and they killed him on the surgery table of cardiologist. Okay, Johns Hopkins killed him. Okay, and all they had to do was get him on the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack and get him off of gluten, and he'd still be here today, and his AFib would be gone.
Wow.
I have a new book coming out next week. It's at the publisher as we speak. It's called It's All in Your Head. Talks about 25 different diseases you get from osteoporosis of the skull and how you get rid of it in weeks.
Wow. I've never heard anyone talk about that. Have you, Barbara? Well, you're muted,
You're
Barbara.
muted on, Barb.
Okay, go ahead. Unmute yourself,
She's
Barbara.
muted.
Unmute.
You're-
Yeah, go ahead.
So
Barbara.
when it must be the osteoporosis. So I just want to say that what I have heard, and it ties into what you're saying, is that there's osteoporosis of the skull. It's going to affect the whole lymphatic and cerebral spinal fluid. And so what I've heard from osteopaths is that so many of these symptoms are from the lymphatic and
No. That's crapola science. Okay. What is happening is anytime any bone undergoes osteoporosis, it gets bigger. Not from more minerals, but from more connective tissue, more bone matrix, okay, kind of more rebar.
right.
And in this case, all these 12 pairs of cranial nerves are going through tunnels. Your spinal cord is going out of the foramen magnum, out of the back of the skull. When you get osteoporosis of the skull called Paget's / Wallach's disease, okay,
Right.
what'll happen here is you start squeezing these cranial nerves in the spinal cord and you get all these diseases that doctors say are autoimmune and genetic.
Yes,
And
that's what I was saying. That
No, but it's the nerves, not the spinal fluid. It's the nerves being squeezed.
got it. But that it's all obviously all related. That one causes the it's squeezed and the nerves are affected.
See, when somebody calls up and they say, I'm kind of losing my hearing here, or I have I'm getting blurry vision, but I don't have glaucoma, pressure in my eye. I don't have cataracts. I don't have macular degeneration. My doctor said I may have had a stroke. No, you have ONA, optic nerve atrophy, which is your skull squeezing the second cranial nerve, which is the optic nerve, which is formed in the brain, goes through the skull to the back of the eye. But when your skull undergoing osteoporosis squeezes that optic nerve, you get ONA, optic nerve atrophy. Now, I had a wager with one eye doctor, okay, that said I couldn't cure that. He brought me 27 charts for people who were legally blind for 6, 8, 10 years, 27 charts. And to make a long story short, in 90 days, all of them could read 20/20 on my program. He lost the wager badly.
Wow.
Wow.
That's what we
Okay.
do.
Alan, your mute's on.
Everybody's quiet now.
Oh, sorry. I'm saying, what goes into these products? If you're, makes the calcium? Where do you get the source of your minerals for
Well,
your
if I
products?
told you that, I'd have to kill you, Alan.
No, but there's so many, just for the calcium, there's so many different types of calcium.
Yeah.
Well,
Barbara's
there's only
right.
my type.
What is
Yeah, but
your
can you
type
just tell
from?
us about your type of calcium, just one little secret, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Barb.
You gotta give
Okay,
someone
let me
a little
think of one.
secret.
Okay, here's something. Let's talk about my selenium. Everybody knows that selenium is good for it. It's good for your immune system. Well, selenium deficiency causes hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, heart disease, at sudden heart death. Those 1,700 autopsies they did on those kids. Okay, it's also the cause of sudden death syndrome, because that was the mineral that was missing that we wanted in federal court to have it put into the baby formulas. Okay, selenium. But we don't have just selenium. We have all these other cofactors added to it. Our selenium has like 6 other nutrients in there, so that not only do you get the benefits of the selenium, but you get the benefits of the selenium plus. Okay, it's kind of like when you get a car and they put a special carburetor on there, you can win the Indy 500. If you take that special carburetor off, you won't even finish.
Right.
Okay, you
And
understand what
where's
I'm
the
saying?
selenium? No, but
So our selenium, we put in all these other minerals in there that help it be the best it can be, because it needs other cofactors. So we don't take a risk. Let's say somebody's stupid enough just to take one nutrient, okay, instead of taking all 90. Well, we've added as many cofactors as we could to our selenium to maximize its benefit, even though you might be silly enough to just take it instead of all 90.
and where's the selenium from? Where's the source of that?
Earth.
Or-
Does it have lipids with it, like a Revici, like?
We have all 90 essential nutrients, including omega-3s and omega-6s and omega-9s, okay? They're all in there. They're all in the 90 essential nutrients. It's in this big box. It comes in several different bottles and capsules and powders and things like that. It's a system. You can't get all 90 essential nutrients in one bottle. The bottle would be as big as a 55-gallon drum.
Right. Okay. Well, Doc, you'll be back next week at the same time here, which is 1 p.m. Eastern and
Every week on Wednesdays.
okay, great. 10 a.m. Pacific. You can go to this YouTube
That's correct.
channel. This has been
So
really.
interesting.
What's that, Barbara?
Thank you so much, Doc, and it was wonderful meeting you.
Well, I want everybody to know that Miss Linda is one of the greatest angels on earth, and without her, I wouldn't know how to do all this stuff. And so I have to praise Miss Linda highly. And if I had to have a doctor, she would be my doctor. I wouldn't accept any other doctor except Miss Linda.
Right. I want to thank Paul Andrews for making this all possible today. Thank you, Paul, for setting this up. And thank you, Linda. And Barbara, you're just new to this whole teaching of Doc, and you got it. That's
She
so-
survived.
I was a total virgin, and now I am a believer.
You did
Okay.
great questions, Barbara. Very good questions.
Yeah, so
Thank
I'm
you.
just
Remember,
gonna-
I've got
you.
several million women pregnant.
really,
That-
thanks,
yeah,
Doc.
I want to
That is
thank
true.
Alan so
Praise
much.
God.
Alan, thank you so much.
Thank you,
And
Paul.
Doc, thank you so much for coming on. It's always an education for me.
Well, thank you.
And-
Again,
and
thank you, Barbara, Alan. Thank you, Paul.
Doc.
Thank you, Miss Linda. God bless you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone
Doc.
in YouTube, everyone in the chat. Next week, we'll invite some more people into the Zoom room to talk to Doc. I'm just going to say goodbye with also flashing. If people, now, if they call this number, Linda, that's on the screen, what exactly will they find there at the number?
There'll be a consultant there, and whomever Margie or whomever answers the phone, they're going to answer their questions. They will set them up with the right pack for them based on their health issues. They'll ask them, you know, what kind of health issues are you dealing with, whether it's high blood pressure or diabetes or heart issues or kidney issues. Doc didn't really talk about that, but we get people off of dialysis all the time. You know, they haven't urinated in 10 years, and now all of a sudden, you know, we have piss parties because they're so excited that they went to the bathroom. So, I mean, we just do that, but
Yeah, we can get them urinating. If they haven't urinated in 10 years, usually in 2 weeks they're urinating again. They're off of dialysis in 4 to 6 weeks.
And
That's
this
No
right.
pissed off people, right, Doc?
that's
That's
right.
correct.
we'll talk about that in the next show, but that again has to do with minerals that they're not having.
Yes, yes,
The
yes.
vitamins and minerals, it's all of it
The
together.
90.
The 90 for life. That's what it's
And
called.
avoiding the bad foods. Miss Linda's good food, bad food list.
Yes.
Great. This is so good. Okay, next week we're going to be back. If people have questions about Doc or anything I said, go to what you're seeing there. I'm going to just say we're going to, this is New Realities with Alan Steinfeld. Thanks so much for watching. And
Thank you.
Thank
thank
you,
you,
Alan.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Love you
Doc.
guys.
Great.
Take care, you guys.
Research. And stay tuned for some upcoming shows.